Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. It has been more than a minute since I've had you come along with me as I've been harvesting, gardening, making things in the kitchen. So I figured I was due. Um, I have been doing a lot of little things here and there, but nothing that has been worthy of taking the time to create a video about. So I finally have a day with no other plans but working on the projects that I want to work on. So I figured this was the perfect opportunity to bring you along and show you what I've been up to. I have been putting my dehydrator to the test. I've been dehydrating a lot of things that have come out of the garden. Got some basil, and I got a cool label maker from my brother for my birthday, so it's been really fun to kind of put some fun labels on it. But I got a lot of basil, and this was actually just one of those plants. This is the blue spice basil that I had out there. So I have a few more that I'm saving to hopefully make some pesto. So that'll be coming soon. But I got one plant out and dehydrated it to make some dried basil powder. Chili powder. I had a lot of chili peppers that were all red, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with them. So I dehydrated them, ground them up, and put them into a powder. So we'll see. I use chili powder pretty frequently, especially for not liking spicy things. I find myself using chili powder, so having it my own is kind of cool. So I've got those from the dehydrator. And I also have used a lot of the peppers for hot sauce. So let me grab one and show you. So I've made two different kinds already. This one is a peach habanero hot sauce. So from the peaches that I got from a farmer's market, I used those with habaneros, and this is actually very delicious. I like it a lot. If you don't like spicy things, the peach really cuts the spice a lot, and it's just like a quick heat. It's just like hot in the beginning, but it doesn't linger too long. So I really like this. And then just a regular hot sauce. This is a combination of, and it's pretty thick actually. I didn't think it was gonna get that thick. This might not come out of the bottle. Anyway, this is a combination of all of the peppers that kind of came out of that last harvest that I did. I was harvesting a lot for cowboy candy. I made a lot of cowboy candy with the jalapenos and the Hungarian hot wax peppers. So this time I took all of the habaneros, the chili peppers, the Hungarian hot wax, and the jalapenos that were all ready, and put those all together with some vinegar and water. And I followed a recipe, but I hope I did it right considering the thickness of this. But anyway, this is what I did. I made half of those peppers. It smells really hot. My husband likes it. He said he likes the flavor, and it's pretty hot compared to this one. So he likes the different varieties there, but you might need to come up to room temp before you use it. That's crazy. I hope that's not a problem. Anyway, so I made all of the peppers that I took. I put half into this hot sauce, and then I'm fermenting half of them to see the difference between fermented hot sauce versus just regular vinegar hot sauce. My husband can kind of do a taste test and see which one. I mean, I'll probably taste it too, but it's very hot for me. Just seeing the difference between fermented hot sauce and regular hot sauce and seeing what one might be worth it to do. You know, with the fermented hot sauce, it takes a couple weeks to get those peppers fermented and then make the hot sauce out of them. So it's a little bit more time, but if it turns out with a much better flavor, then I'd be happy to continue making fermented hot sauces with my peppers. So yeah, got the fermented peppers going, the mixture of them for that hot sauce, and then I also have fermented habaneros going for just a plain fermented habanero hot sauce. And then next to that, I've got my fire cider. I saw a lot of hype around the internet for fire cider, so I figured I would give it a try. So a lot of those are homegrown ingredients. I put some rosemary, lemon, garlic, onions, chili pepper, turmeric, ginger. I couldn't find horseradish. And I think that's it. I think that's all that's in there. And then top that off with some apple cider vinegar. So that'll take a month. So by the end of October, I can strain that out and then just have the liquid left behind to take a shot of whenever we're feeling a cold coming on or if we're sick in the winter. So yeah, I'm excited to kind of have that and see how that goes. But yeah, anyway, today what I'm doing is working on my pumpkins. So I already took maybe 3 or 4 of my sugar pie pumpkins and pureed them. So I put them in the oven at about 400 for probably an hour, and then, you know, took them out, took the peels off, or the skins, took the skins off, and pureed those up with an immersion blender. What I didn't do before putting them in the freezer bags and putting them in the freezer is drain them. So I think when I pull them out of the freezer to use them, I'm still gonna have to run them through like a cheesecloth and just drain out some extra water from those. I probably should have done that step before I froze them, but I wasn't thinking about that. So that's just a little side note, but I probably have like 13 bags of a full can. Like I divvy them up based on the cans. So like 15 ounces of pumpkin puree per bag. And I've got about 13 bags in the freezer right now. So I'm excited about that. There's gonna be a lot of pumpkin goodies coming soon. But with the rest of the pumpkins, I probably have maybe 5 or 6 more. I wanted to cube them and can them. I want to try them canned. I don't have a lot of jars. I had to go out and buy some more of the quart jars. And I don't know, I'm just trying to be smart of what I put in them because I'm going through jars very quickly. So I was thinking I would put some into jars and then just freeze some in cubes. I thought it'd be nice to have cubes for any kind of like pumpkin recipes that call for cubes, you know, more of the like the savory like dinners and not necessarily all desserts, but some of the things that you can use pumpkin. My sister mentioned she was making like a pumpkin grain bowl or quinoa bowl or something like that. So anything that I don't want to have necessarily puree, but just chunks of pumpkin, thought I would give that a try. So I'm working on cutting up the pumpkin to then you have to boil it for a little bit and then hot pack it into jars. I think I'm just going to cut it and then get myself prepared to can because I'm not there yet. But I also want to figure something out for my potatoes. I think I'm just going to chop them up and freeze them in diced. I'll leave some that look good for storage for as long as I can. Some of them are like looking not so hot, so I want to kind of do something with those before they go bad. So I might dice them and freeze them as dices if you were to just do like, you know, some hash browns for breakfast. And then I've got a lot of carrots that I want to preserve. I kind of want to try canning carrots. I keep hearing that people don't like the texture of a canned carrot, that it changes the texture a lot and it's just not as good. So I'm hesitant, but I also want to try it for myself to see if I like canned carrot because I really like cooked carrots. So I don't know, we'll see. I think I'm going to can some and then freeze some. So carrots, pumpkin, and potatoes. Oh, and onions. I just want to dice them and freeze the onions that I pulled out of the garden. My onion harvest was very sad and very pitiful, but I actually got some that are like a bulb. So I just want to dice those up. I know they're not going to store long, so I want to dice those up and put them in the freezer as just diced onions whenever I need them. So onions, carrots, potatoes, and pumpkin. That is my plan for today. I don't know how much I'm going to get to. Like I said, I don't have any other plans for the day, so hopefully I can get to a lot of it, but I'll bring you along and we'll see how much we can get done. Here is where I learn how difficult it is to cut a pumpkin. I've obviously carved pumpkins before, so I have, cut a pumpkin, but cutting it in half and cutting it into cubes was like a whole new beast. As I'm going into it, you'll see that the skin has some green underneath it, like right on the beginning of the flesh of the pumpkin. It's a little bit green, and I wasn't sure what that was. The outside of this pumpkin did have some spots on it where it might have still been green off the vine, and then it kind of ripened after I harvested it, so that might be it. But regardless, I shaved that part away, and here you can see I'm starting with the vegetable peeler, and that doesn't last very long. The vegetable peeler actually breaks, and then I have to use a knife anyway. So long story short, I got all the green off, and cutting it into chunks was actually a lot more easy and satisfying. You can hear how crisp those chops are. So yeah, that's the satisfying part. But anyway, I cut them into about 1-inch cubes-ish. I tried to keep them all around the same size so that they would cook evenly, but this is what's recommended for canning. You actually can't can puree. You have to can it into cubes before making a puree later, just because of safety reasons, I guess. But yeah, just cubed up this pumpkin and a couple more to add to the pot and start blanching for the cans. So for both canning and freezing, you need to boil the chunks of pumpkin for like 2 minutes. With the cans, I will put them in directly after the boiling process, so while they're still hot. For freezing, I'll put them in some ice water, let them sit there, cool, put them on this tray, and then put them in the freezer for about 3 hours before putting them into bags so that they don't all freeze together. So I'm letting this water heat up, and I will start the process of blanching these. All right, so my canner is ready. I've got a couple inches of water in here. I've decided that I'm gonna let myself use 4 jars for pumpkin. I don't have a ton of jars, and I don't know if I'm gonna love this versus just having it frozen. So 4 jars should be good. I'm going to start blanching my pumpkin because my water's boiling, and yeah, hot packing them, and then we're gonna put some more boiling water on top. So I need to get another thing of boiling water going, but that's what I'm gonna do. If you've seen any of my other videos, you notice that my debubbling tool is new. This is another gift from my brother for my birthday. My family really understood the assignment this year and got right into my hobbies with me. I got a lot of gardening and canning related items, so super excited to have this debubbling tool that also reads the headspace, so I'm a lot more accurate with my canning now. So shout out to Justin, thank you. Okay, I lied. I used 5 because 5 fit in here so perfectly. I had enough pumpkin and I have like 3 or 4 more pumpkins to cut up so I can freeze those ones. So I figured I would just, while I'm running the canner, have it be full. So I'm going to get this started heating up while I grease my lid. Probably have just enough for this purpose. All right, we're ready. So now we're gonna wait for this to come up to pressure and start venting for about 10 minutes. While I'm waiting for that, I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting up the rest of my pumpkin. The canning time for our pumpkin, since I put it into quarts, is 90 minutes, but I also just realized I have 7 more sugar pie pumpkins to cut. So we're gonna be here for a minute, but that's okay. Okay, it's really loud over there, obviously, so I'm gonna try to come over here. While I'm cutting up the pumpkin, I'm thinking, like, man, this is a lot of work to freeze chunks of pumpkin, where with the puree, I just threw it in the oven, let it roast, and pulled it out before kind of really pureeing it, and then putting it in the freezer. And I'm thinking, like, I have these chunks for, you know, whatever purpose, but most likely I'm probably gonna have to puree them, right? Like if I'm making a pumpkin cookie or pumpkin bread or anything really. I'm gonna have to look up some recipes to see what uses pumpkin chunks and if it's worth it to have this many in chunks or if I should just start throwing pumpkins in the oven, because that would go a lot faster and it would be a lot less cutting. I already broke my peeler, my vegetable peeler, so it's a lot of work. So yeah, I'm gonna take a quick second to look up any recipes. There's my timer for, it's been venting for 10 minutes, so I gotta go throw my weight on there and start the processing time for 90 minutes. Yeah, I don't know, I might start just roasting them instead of cutting them up because this is a lot, and I don't know if I'm gonna use the chunks as much as just puree. So if you have done this in the past, if you have any recipes for pumpkin chunks versus pumpkin puree, let me know what you think. How would you preserve these? All right, so I have a full pan of cubed pumpkin that has been blanched and is ready to go in the freezer. So I kind of decided I'm just gonna leave it at this. I know this is a little bit full. It's supposed to be in one layer, but I'm just gonna throw it in the freezer and go through and mix it up a little bit just to make sure they don't all stick together. But yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at this. I'm not gonna cube anymore. I think I'm just gonna throw the rest in the oven to roast them and make puree. All right, so I've got things somewhat cleaned up. I have a pumpkin in the oven and the canned pumpkin is on its last half hour of being processed. Now what I'm gonna do is start processing my carrots. I'm very excited because I'm gonna use my new KitchenAid slicing tool because my hand is killing from cutting all of that pumpkin. That's a tough project and I'm gonna have a blister for sure. But I'm gonna whip out the KitchenAid for the carrots and start putting those into some jars so that when this is done, I can start the carrots. So I'm actually very happy with my carrot harvest. You know, some of them I could have left a little bit longer, but I wanted to, I don't know, start playing around with them. And I've gotten some really good sized carrots, and they all look like a cartoon. Like they're all like perfect carrots, except for one. I did get one wonky one. I'm not sure why. You know, we did get new soil this year because these are new garden beds, obviously. So everything was nice and loose. You know, there wasn't any like hard rocks to get through, which I was concerned about because some of the new soil was a little bit clumpy. So I'm happy with this. And I figured out, I didn't necessarily break it, but I have to hold it pretty closely. So hopefully I can actually get these carrots peeled. This KitchenAid dicer slicer is still pretty new to me, so I'm still figuring it out. This was helpful to cut so many carrots in a shorter amount of time, but it's still a little bit challenging to make sure the carrot fits through that top piece of the processor. So some of them I had to cut so they weren't like perfect circles. So I guess that's the only difference between using something like this and just a mandolin or cutting it with a knife, is that you get those all in a circle. But that's not really that big of a deal to me, especially with these canned carrots. So I was able to still use it and figure it out, and it definitely made the job go by a lot faster. When I did sort through the carrots to put them into jars, I was making sure to grab all the carrots that were around the same thickness so that they would cook evenly. Okay, I probably should have went with the potatoes next because now the carrots can just sit there and wait. I'm gonna try to run the canner with the carrots and the potatoes at the same time. So my pumpkin's done. But I have to, because I have to soak the potatoes a little bit to get some of the starch out and like wash them and peel them and all that, and then blanch those. So these carrots are gonna be hanging out while I prep the potatoes and get those jarred up so that I can run them all together. And then with the rest of the carrots, I just gave them a quick chop. They were already in slices, obviously, but I chopped them up into kind of cubes because I'm gonna blanch those and then just freeze those. And I was thinking, I don't really know what I would do with like circular carrots from the freezer. I mean, I guess it doesn't make a difference whether it's from the freezer or from the jar, but I figured I'd use them chopped up a little bit more, like to throw in anything you put carrots in. I can't think of anything right now. I'm kind of just prepping all these ingredients and then I'm gonna figure out what I can do with them later. That's how I roll. I can take my pumpkin out of the oven. And this is naturally going down to 0 pressure. Then we can take those out. First thing fully done, a little bag of carrots for the freezer. Okay, so days like this are super fun, but this is when I also get overwhelmed because I'm trying to do like 3 different things at once, and it's hard to keep track of, but we're doing it. So I've got the first pumpkin that I roasted in here cooling so that I can take the skin off, and another pumpkin already in the oven. Oh, and there's a pop. The pumpkin cubes from the canner they're coming to room temperature in the canner before I take them out. The carrots are waiting patiently for the next round. There's the pumpkin and carrots now in the freezer. And it's time to do potatoes. So this was my potato harvest. This is just the white potatoes. I've got a lot more red, so I figured I would start with the smaller one and kind of figure out my plan first. I did weigh this and it's 12 pounds. So I got 12 pounds of potatoes, which I'm not mad about. I had a really big bed set aside for them. So I guess I thought I'd get more, but beggars can't be choosers. I'm just happy it worked out. So they're pretty dirty. I gotta wash them up, and similar with the carrots, I'm going to can a good amount of them. Like, I don't know. I've got 6 more jars, so maybe I'll use all 6 for potatoes. I don't know. I still gotta figure that out. I'm gonna can some, and then the rest I'm gonna dice up and freeze. So let's do that. All right, so I've got this pot probably like halfway full, and I decided this is what I'm going to can into jars. And then the rest that I have here, I'm gonna actually shred up and freeze as hash browns. While the canner is doing its thing, I'm gonna take the rest of these potatoes and figure out which attachment I can use for my dicer and slicer to hopefully make some hash browns. I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do that. So I'm gonna I gotta peel and wash them, let them soak in water for a little bit while I figure out the attachment. So that's next. Okay, so to shred my potatoes, I have to use this adapter tool. And then, all right, so this is reversible. So there's medium shredding on this side and fine shredding on the other side. I think I want to do fine. So I think that means that this side goes up. Yeah. So let's try it out and see what happens. This KitchenAid mixer is a hand-me-down from my grandma, so it's a little bit old. The motor was getting a little bit tired during this process, so I was trying to be easy on it. Throughout the whole round of potatoes, I have to pause and unscrew the lid and kind of take off some of the pieces of potato that didn't quite go through, which is what you'll see me doing here. But regardless, I'm actually pretty pleased with how they turned out. You'll see how fine they were at the end when I show you, but I think next time I would probably do that medium level because they didn't need to be so small. But regardless, this worked really well and was obviously a better alternative to using a cheese grater and kind of hand shredding all of these potatoes. So I would definitely use it again. All right, so there is the shredded hash browns after being blanched and rinsing again. Now I just have to like dry them a little bit, you know, maybe lay them out on a towel, and then we'll freeze them. 40 minutes is up on the canner, and I took out the pumpkin from the freezer and swapped it out here with the hash browns. So they look good. I don't know if I needed to do them that thin. When I had to drain them out, they just get really clumpy. I don't know how they're gonna freeze. I mean, putting it out on a tray like this will probably help make it into like smaller clumps, but they're definitely not gonna be like individual shreds. It's gonna be kind of clumps of hash brown. But I like my hash browns thin like this, so as long as they cook up fine, I don't see a problem with it. I guess we'll see. Maybe diced would have been better, but whatever, it's worth a shot. So I have made quite the mess again. I'm working on my pumpkin puree now too. It's just been a long day. I think I took on a little bit too much, but I am really happy with what I got. I'll show you the carrots and potatoes coming out of the canner so you can get that final satisfaction of seeing it completed. But otherwise, I am wrapping this stuff up and cleaning up and calling it a day. I'm not gonna worry about the rest of the potatoes because there's too many and I don't know what I wanna do with them yet anyway, so that'll be for another day. But anyway, thanks for keeping me motivated. Thanks for keeping me on task. Thanks for hanging out with me today in my kitchen, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.